Welcome back. This is our third series of Talking Fire. Welcome to 2022. It seems like the last 2 years have flown past with the pandemics and everything going on, but we seem to slowly be returning to normality, which hopefully allows businesses to thrive a bit more and a bit more freedom. This year has started off with a lot of headlines regarding fires. There's been several fires around the country that have made headlines. Big part of it being related to maintenance issues, monitoring issues, that kind of stuff. Clive, I don't know if you want to reiterate on with regards to sprinkler valves. I do believe that even during the riots of last year, there was a few sprinkler valves that had been closed, without warning.
Yeah.
So.
Look, we now sort of diverting a little bit into the different industries on the different fields of fire detection and suppression. But basically, the sprinkler valves and that, according to their standards, they are supposed to be monitored. And what we found on a lot of sites is that the sprinkler valves open and closed are not monitored. And then obviously people are not doing the maintenance and they're not picking up that the valves are closed. And one or two of the fires have gone out of control because of that, and especially with the riots last year, you've got a storage unit and a storage facility, and if the system's not been monitored, that you don't know the sprinklers are closed, well then that is an issue. Fire detection systems, we have covered that previously, so you're welcome to go back and look at the other videos, but yeah, systems have to be maintained and they've got to be looked after, otherwise it's like servicing your car. If your car breaks down and you've not serviced it, well, there's only one person to point the fingers at.
Yeah, 100%. It's also opportunity for detection people and sprinkler people, and I think at some point we'll probably, engage with some of the sprinkler people just to clarify in more detail as to what the expectations are and what the end user needs to know. I think a lot of times in this industry, the infamous wool gets pulled over the eyes, and it's a pricing game. But there are certain things that are required. And all the stuff we've been doing with insurance companies and stuff like that, if these guidelines, if maintenance is not done and if systems aren't compliant, they are repudiating claims. And, that's the end of a business.
Yeah, we're all in the contracting game, and we were fortunate that we done an installation last year. As we handed it over, the factory next door had a fire. So they were fortunate that they had installed their fire system and there was a fire next door. So obviously, these things do happen, and with a lack of maintenance and electrical and ESCOM problems and all of that kind of thing, you're getting to the point where you've got electricity going on and off, and it can cause problems in your factory, in your facilities, in your offices, and that easily goes over into a fire condition. So the maintenance and looking after it's because it's your equipment, it's the client's facilities. If you're not looking after that, you can close your business very easily.
On a positive, it's not all doom and gloom. Mm-hmm. The FDIA has spent the last year trying to, I wouldn't say drop barriers of entry, but make it easier. There's a lot of new young companies that are really doing good work and are wanting to uplift the industry. And I think as the FDIA, we've noticed these companies, we've seen some of their work, and we are going to open the doors to allow them to join without the requirements of a full member. Obviously for a limited period. Clive, maybe you want to take us through a bit more in terms of how people that don't have all the,
staff complements,
all their staff complements or all the resources required, how they can join, how they can get involved.
Yeah, look, last year at the AGM we discussed this, and we said that we're going to be aiming to change the membership naming convention, the membership requirements and so on. And it's been a year of fighting backwards and forwards because, as soon as you got three people in a room, then you got vastly different requirements and vastly different outlooks on the thing. Lots of backwards and forwards with the FDIA committee. We've been working really hard at this, and ultimately we've come up with a scenario. We're going to be putting it out to all the members and that at the AGM at the beginning of March. But just to give you a heads up is that we've created a conditional installer. Let me go back one step. What we need to remember is that our industry is governed by the Department of Employment and Labour. Because we fall under safe working conditions, we fall under the Health and Safety Act. By default, it's the Department of Employment and Labour, and ultimately they call the shots for us. So what we've done is, to become a member of the FDIA, the progression is you need to be a fire detection installer, because that's what we are. We're looking at the fire detection industry. From there, you can then become a fire detection and gas suppression installer, or we got the separate field for the suppliers and extra add-ons onto the systems. So what we did is, and we've listened to what people are saying, is that a lot of smaller companies don't have or can't afford to have a designer on board, a registered, recognized fire detection designer. So we created a conditional installer, which is coming into the industry. You want to do installations, you want to do it properly, you want to be part of the industry and work lacquer. What we're going to do then is, as a conditional installer, you don't need to have a registered designer on your books. In the past, an installer needs to have a designer employed full-time. A lot of small companies, especially if we look at subcontractors and that, they don't have that, and it's an expensive person. I get paid tons of money, I wish. So we're going to look at, you need to have a commissioner on board, so at least you know that your system's been tested and commissioned properly, but your design can be signed off by a third party, whether it be, if you're a subcontractor, the main contractor, if it's a consulting engineer, a supplier that's done the design for you, you don't need to have a designer employed. There's a couple of other small things, but we're going to have all the membership forms on the website, which has been upgraded as well. From there, we're going to then go to your normal normal detection installer as what we had. So the existing people that are on board and have got all the inspections in place and that's going to stay the same. We've also allowed for a gas suppression, a conditional gas suppression installer, because again, a lot of the contractors do not have a designer on board. There's one or two contractors that have got designers, so they will become a full designer. But the gas suppression is a facility that 99% of the installations, the design is done by the supplier because of the software that's required to do the designs. So that's where we're going with that. After that, we have created a associate member. So that is people that are interested in the industry, but they're not necessarily in the design and suppression of fire detection. Thinking along the lines of, for instance, ventilation, lift people with a lift homing. So any industry that's related to fire detection, but not in it completely. Associate member suppliers, we also have allowed for suppliers of other equipment to come in online. What we got as well is we had a lot of issues with third-party inspections. We're in, out, and year before last, we said that the third-party inspection companies should not be members. We've discussed this backwards and forwards, and we've decided to let them back in again. We're going to sign non-disclosure agreements with them if they want to join. There are certain specifics that they need to take care of. They've got to be SANUS approved to do the inspections and so on. It's quite a rigmarole to become an inspector. And I think that covers about all of the new membership criteria. We're making it a lot easier for the smaller companies to come in on board. We're making it easier for the end users to be able to use FDIA members, because a lot of people are now going, we want an FDIA member. Remember, we are not the be-all and end-all. We are just an industry body that we're trying to get together and upgrade the fire detection and suppression in the country.
Okay. In other news, we've also been reaching out to other associations within the fire industry. There's been some changes with regards to training, with regards to requirements. So we just, at this point, gathering information. We will send out more on that. Consulting engineers, will they fit under an associate member? It's always been a bit controversial regarding their rational designs and how the standards see it, how they see it.
Yeah.
You know, just to call a spade and to be quite blunt about it. But I do believe that it is time for us to introduce them into our association to get their opinion as to how they operate. Is that something you think we're going to look at? Would that fall under an associate member?
We've got that covered as we've actually created a field for consulting engineers. However, part of that is that we've said that we need a competent designer, a registered competent designer on SANS 10139 and all the related industries or related standards, so 322 and so on. So we have allowed for that. Rational designs are always going to be a bugbear because what we as the FDIA see as a rational design and what some people see as rational designs are not always the same thing. As far as we're concerned is that a rational design is something that is on a specialized area where the existing standards don't cover it, but a rational design still needs to be within the spirit of the standard. So if you've got a warehouse, I'm just trying to think of it, something offhand, a warehouse and it's not covered by 10139, and you need a rational design, all the criteria of a 10139 standard needs to be covered or needs to be looked at some point. You can't go and just install a detector in the corner in somebody's office and say, yeah, it's good, it's a rational design. It's got to do fit for purpose.
So it should still be done according to the standards, exclusions listed.
Correct.
Which is something we're going to
the manufacturer's requirements and the standards and so on, yeah.
Okay. Well, personally, I'm quite excited to open up the door to new companies, fresh blood. There's a lot of young companies out there, which is what we're looking to get to uplift the industry. So if you keep following our LinkedIn page, we will be putting more information out there. Please feel free to contact anybody, any committee member to discuss this further. If you are interested, we are happy to discuss it now. This will officially take place after the AGM.
Yep.
We'll launch the paperwork and stuff. But anybody that's wanting to do it, let's have the chats along, and then when it's launched, you can send your paperwork through, and hopefully we'll see our membership grow with the people we want.
One thing that we have seen is that all the requirements for membership are on the website, and people come along and they want to become members, and then they've not even looked at the documentation that we require. And it's just straightforward stuff. You be a company, have some public liability insurance in place, and we're not dictating at all what you need and what you don't need. But ultimately, it's to protect the end user, to protect the FDIA. That people that are using member companies have got some peace of mind that they're using a halfway decent company. Yeah, and if we could get some fresh blood in, it's going to make us feel so much better, because seeing the same old dinosaurs all the time gets a bit boring.
I'm sure people are getting sick of seeing us as well.
Yeah. Right, so I think that covers most of what we wanted to discuss.
Yes. So exciting 2022.
Yep.
So keep watching, keep supporting us, and let's hope the association grows.